My fiancé demanded I quit my job after the wedding, saying a wife shouldn't have her own money. When I refused, he smirked, "You'll change your mind once we're married." The next day, I left without a word. Months later, he saw me at a gala, wearing a diamond ring from someone else. His jaw dropped as my new fiancé whispered, "She'll never be yours again." I was 28 when I met Daniel at a friend's party in Chicago. He was charismatic, successful, and had a way of making you feel like the only person in the room. Our connection was immediate, and soon, we were spending all our free time together. Daniel worked in finance at a prominent firm downtown, and I was a marketing manager at a mid-sized company, passionate about my career and the independence it provided. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within a year, Daniel proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Geneva. The setting was beautiful, a candlelit dinner by the lake with the sky painted in hues of pink and orange. When he slid the diamond ring onto my finger, I felt like I was stepping into a dream. We began planning our future together, discussing everything from wedding venues to potential neighborhoods to settle in. As the wedding approached, Daniel's behavior started to change. One evening, after a long day at work, we sat down for dinner in his apartment overlooking the city. The conversation started casually but soon took an unexpected turn. "I've been thinking," Daniel began, setting down his fork. "After we get married, I'd like you to consider quitting your job." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him correctly. "Quit my job? Why would I do that?" He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "I make more than enough for both of us. I want you to focus on our home, maybe prepare for starting a family. A wife shouldn't have her own money, it complicates things." His words felt like a punch to the gut. I had always envisioned a partnership where both individuals maintain their passions and careers. My job wasn't just a paycheck, it was a part of who I was. "Daniel, I love my work. It gives me purpose. I don't want to give that up." He sighed, a smirk playing on his lips. "You'll change your mind once we're married." The dismissal in his tone ignited a fire within me. I realized then that this wasn't just a suggestion, it was an expectation. One that I wasn't willing to fulfill. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The city lights cast shadows across the room, mirroring the turmoil in my mind. I thought about the life Daniel envisioned for us and how starkly it contrasted with my own dreams. By morning, my decision was made. While Daniel was at work, I packed my belongings, leaving the engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a note that simply read, "I can't." I moved in with a close friend who welcomed me without question. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing and rediscovering myself. I poured my energy into my career, taking on new projects and even earning a promotion. Months later, I attended a charity gala downtown. Dressed in an elegant gown, I felt confident and at peace. As I mingled, a familiar voice called my name. I turned to see Daniel, his eyes widening as they fell to the diamond ring adorning my left hand. Beside me stood James, a colleague who had become much more over the past few months. James, noticing Daniel's gaze, leaned in and whispered, "She'll never be yours again." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, turning on his heel and disappearing into the crowd. I squeezed James's hand, gratitude swelling in my chest. I had found someone who respected and supported me, valuing my independence as much as I did. Looking back, I realized that leaving Daniel was the best decision I ever made. It taught me the importance of staying true to myself and never compromising my values for someone else's expectations. In the end, I didn't just find love, I found myself. The gala ended, but the ripple effect of that night had just started. I didn't expect to hear from Daniel again after what happened. He looked shocked enough to stay away. But 2 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. "You always knew how to put on a show. Congrats." I blocked it. The next day, a bouquet of deep red roses showed up at my office with no card. Then another the day after that, this time with a note. "We could have had everything. You'll see." I threw them out. James noticed my mood shifting. I didn't want to worry him, but it was clear Daniel hadn't let go. I told James everything. He got quiet and said, "We'll handle this together." But handling it turned into something I didn't expect. About a month later, I was preparing a pitch for a major client. Huge deal. It could open doors to something bigger for me. Just before the meeting, my boss pulled me aside, face tight with concern. "There's something we need to talk about. Someone's been contacting clients under your name, saying you're leaving the company, that you're unstable." I felt like the floor had dropped out beneath me. They showed me the emails. Fake accounts. Same writing style I remembered from past messages. "Daniel." It had to be. It nearly cost me the deal. I had to do serious damage control, calling the client personally, explaining the situation without dragging in my personal drama. Thankfully, they stayed on. But my boss warned me, "You need to get a handle on this. Fast." James wanted me to go to the police. I considered it, but there was no proof. The emails were anonymous, sent through burner accounts. I had no evidence to link him to it directly. Then came the weirdest twist. I went to lunch with an old coworker one Friday. Mid-conversation, she asked, "Hey, are you still with Daniel?" I choked on my water. "What? No. Why would you ask that?" She looked confused. "I just saw him last week at the Field Museum. He was with a woman who looked like you from behind. He said you two were working things out." It didn't make sense. Unless he had found someone else. Someone who resembled me. He was parading her around town, pretending we were still together. Pretending he still had control. That night, I got another message. No name. No greeting. Don't pretend you're safe just because you have a new ring. I know who you really are. James insisted I move in with him. I agreed. It was safer. But I hated that I felt like I was running again. I'd left Daniel once. Now it felt like he was still inside my life, pressing his thumb down on every corner I tried to claim as mine. I started documenting everything. Every message. Every flower delivery. Every incident. I had a folder, locked and backed up in the cloud, with dates, times, screenshots. I needed leverage. And then I got it. One of my coworkers, someone in IT, quietly came to me one day. He knew about the emails. He had been digging around. He showed me metadata that hadn't been scrubbed properly from one of the earlier emails sent to a client. It led back to an IP address. And that IP was registered under Daniel's old firm. I sat there shaking. He wasn't just stalking me, he was risking his own job to sabotage mine. James was furious. It's time to hit back. And I agreed. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to post about it online. I was going to plan. Daniel liked power. Liked looking perfect. Liked being the one in control. I'd take that from him, one piece at a time. I just needed to wait for the right moment. And it came faster than I thought. It happened on a Tuesday. My boss called me into his office again, but this time he wasn't annoyed, he looked nervous. He shut the door behind me. "We got a strange call," he said. "From a private investigator. Said he was doing a background check on you for fraud?" I stared at him stunned. He continued, "I don't believe it. You've been with us for years. But if someone's trying to dig up dirt, or make it up, you need to be aware." I left the office shaking. A pie? Daniel was getting bolder. Or more desperate. That night, I checked my credit report. 3 inquiries had popped up in the last month from banks I didn't recognize. Someone was trying to open credit cards under my name. One even succeeded, with a mailing address listed as an apartment in Lincoln Park. James and I drove to the address. It was a dingy building, nothing like the luxury Daniel would usually be associated with. But sure enough, a mailbox had my name on it, spelled correctly, middle name included. Someone was pretending to be me, down to the smallest detail. We filed a report with the police. This time, they took it seriously. Identity theft, forged documents, impersonation. It was no longer just harassment. It was criminal. Still, there was no arrest. Not yet. A week later, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was tight. "Did you change your emergency contact with the hospital?" "No," I said slowly. "Why?" "They said someone called pretending to be you. Wanted access to your medical records." I asked questions and they hung up. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Daniel was trying to dig into my past. Maybe he thought I had a weakness buried somewhere, some history he could weaponize. But there was nothing, no secret. No skeleton. Just me and my life, and a past that wasn't perfect, but definitely not his business anymore. I had underestimated how deep his obsession ran. This wasn't about love. It never had been. Then came the message that flipped everything upside down. A woman emailed me through LinkedIn. I almost ignored it, but something in the subject line caught my eye. "We need to talk about Daniel." Her name was Rebecca. She lived in Milwaukee. She said she had been dating Daniel for almost 4 months. He told me he was divorced. Said his ex-fiancé tried to destroy his career. That she was manipulative, controlling, even dangerous. He said you stalked him. That you showed up at his job. That you threatened him. I sat frozen, reading those lines over and over. Rebecca included screenshots, texts from Daniel, pictures of them together, and voice messages. In one, he described me as a ticking time bomb. In another, he joked about how I would eventually crawl back once James got bored. But the most shocking part was this. He had proposed to her too. Same speech. Same style of ring. Even the same dinner spot he'd taken me to in Lake Geneva. And that's when it clicked. Daniel wasn't just bitter. He was repeating everything, his tactics, his words, even his gifts. I wasn't the first. And I wouldn't have been the last. I wrote back to Rebecca. We talked. She was scared, angry, and completely caught off guard. She said he'd isolated her from friends, convinced her to leave her job, and even hinted at getting married fast. Sound familiar? Together, we started connecting dots. And then, another woman reached out. Then another. Turns out, Daniel had a pattern. A very specific, very calculated one. A trail of exes. Most stayed quiet. One had moved out of state to get away. Another filed a restraining order that was denied due to lack of evidence. None of them had ever talked to each other. Until now. James helped us build a group chat. 5 women, then 6. Different cities. Different stories, but the same core. Rebecca said something that stuck with me. He didn't want love. He wanted control. And we kept letting him take it, piece by piece. But not anymore. Daniel had no idea we were talking. No idea we were comparing stories, timelines, screenshots. No idea that we were building a file. A big one. And we weren't going to the police this time. We were going somewhere much louder. We waited for the perfect moment. It came in the form of a high-profile charity event, another gala, this time hosted at the Art Institute of Chicago. Daniel would be there. Rebecca was still technically seeing him, and he'd invited her as his date. He had no idea she was working with us now. We planned it carefully. Rebecca would go with him, act like everything was fine. Meanwhile, 3 of us, including me, would already be inside. 2 others agreed to stay nearby as backup, ready to record if things got out of hand. He showed up, smug as ever. Wearing a navy tuxedo, hand around Rebecca's waist, acting like the king of the world. I watched them walk in from the balcony above the grand staircase, heart thudding in my chest. Rebecca sent the signal, a simple message. He's gloating. Talking about how he's going to announce our engagement next week. We made our move. The moment he turned around, saw me standing at the bottom of the stairs in a deep green dress, his entire expression collapsed. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stared like he'd seen a ghost. Then behind me, Anna stepped out. Then Nora. One by one, the women he tried to erase from his story. All of us standing in silence. No screaming. Just presence. Rebecca let go of his hand. You lied to me, she said. Her voice cracked, but she didn't waver. Everything. The job, the exes, the stories about her, she nodded at me. They were all lies. He tried to laugh it off. Babe, come on. They're just, stop, she snapped. He looked at me next. This is what you're doing now? What, you couldn't let go so you dragged all of them into some crazy act. James appeared behind me then, calm and steady. He handed Daniel a thin envelope. Consider this your warning. There's enough evidence in here to light up every HR department you've ever worked with. Enough for an investigation. Enough for a restraining order. Keep going and we'll escalate. Daniel's eyes darted to the crowd. People were watching now. Whispers floated through the room. He realized this wasn't just a scene. It was a reckoning. You think this makes you better than me? He hissed. You still needed a man to save you. No, I said. I saved myself the moment I left you. All this? This is just the truth catching up. For a second, I thought he'd hit someone. His hands were clenched, jaw tight, sweat starting to break across his brow. Then he turned and stormed out. Silence hung in the room like a fog. Rebecca cried, her hands trembling. Nora hugged her. Anna sank into a chair and finally said out loud, I thought I was crazy. I thought it was just me. We didn't chase him. We didn't need to. In the days that followed, the fallout came fast. His firm launched an internal review after an anonymous tip someone sent in a full PDF of his behavior. LinkedIn rumors spread. A few of his old friends, ones I remembered vaguely, reached out to apologize, to say they hadn't known the whole story. He tried to contact me once more, one last email. You ruined my life. Hope it was worth it. I didn't respond. Was it worth it? Sometimes I still wonder. There were nights I couldn't sleep. Times I felt sick remembering his voice. What I thought was love had been a slow, careful erosion of my identity. The aftermath was messy. Some of the women found peace quickly. Others, not yet. James stayed by me through it all. We took things slow. We talked more. Trusted more. He never tried to fix me, just held space for me to heal. I don't hate Daniel. Not anymore. I pity him. I see a man so obsessed with control that he destroyed every chance at real connection. I see the damage he caused, not just to me, but to every woman he tried to rewrite. What I've learned is this: leaving isn't weakness. It's strength. Rebuilding is hard. Believing in yourself after being torn down is harder. But it's possible. So no, I didn't win. But I survived. And some days, that's more than enough.